I said something in the other room before, and I said, pretty much you're amazing. Everybody in this league has stolen her offense, her spacing, how you guard defense, how you guard pick and roll, and added it to her team. Your coaching staff, to your credit, has moved on to do great things. What's the next step? I don't even want to say reinvent, because you're champions and you have greatest player in the world. What does this team have to do?
The basics. I think the great ones always have the basics mastered. There's a quote says the greatest form of sophistication is simplicity. And I think if we just play simple basketball, you play the right way, you play on time basketball, everything tends to work out. We've had some moments, where I wasn't particularly happy with our effort. And I think we're starting to master that. We're starting to understand how hard you have to work every night to be great. And we just have to get back to running routes hard. I think offensively, setting screens for each other, blocking out, defensively, staying between your man and the basket. I mean, really basic stuff. That's really what I'm harping on them for, and wanting to see consistently for 40 minutes. And this team is getting it. I can see it in moments, it's tough because I think we're riding a 4-game win streak, probably, if we don't lose Asia and New York and DC. So those things happen, those things come up, but I keep telling them, like, everybody stay on board. We're moving in the right direction. Nobody jump overboard yet. Because even though we're maybe not going as fast as I'd like, we are moving in the right direction. And I think we've had to do a lot of teaching, this year, Nance. We've had to do a lot of teaching because it's so many new pieces. We had a lot of corporate knowledge leave the locker room with AC, Sid, and KP, and even Tiff to a certain degree. So not reinvent the wheel, but review the wheel.
Becky, I don't know if anybody's asked you this, but how do you keep the focus of the team heading into All-Star?
I threaten them. No. No, look, we still have to be about ourselves. We have to be present. That's something I've been preaching from day one, is be present, be where your feet are, win the moment. So if we do those things, we'll be fine. Nobody gets to, check out early for an early vacation. And this is a big game for us. It's an important game for us. Going into the break, to be sitting at that 500, coming back, basically it's going to be 0-0. That's how I'm going to be telling it to them. And then we go from there. But very important game for us. And I hope we handle it with maturity.
And in your last game against the Valkyries, your pace, how did you feel your team played with pace?
Pace isn't ever, I always want to play with pace. I want the ball kicked ahead. I want people sprinting to corners. I want them to have a little bit of structure and a whole lot of freedom to be basketball players, make reads, do what you've been doing your whole life, and do it at the highest level. And, it's about taking pride in those little things. Like, everything has a reason why. And I think, we've had to break a lot of things down by why this is important. Why do we need to run to the corner? Why do I need our bigs up and pick and roll, and really just break it down to the bare minimums. But we're running some actions that I feel really comfortable with now too, where I feel like we're going to get a lot of good things. And it's because they're playing. It's not the action, it's how you run the action. And anybody can run the action. It's how you run it and how you compete in that action.
And lastly, how good was it, a little redemption after Jackie, the end of the Washington game, to come out like she did against Golden State?
Yeah, she was pretty upset with herself after that Washington game. She's somewhat of a perfectionist. And so when she doesn't play well, it hits her hard. I text her, I said, how many big shots? Let's remember how many big shots you've hit for this franchise. Huge shots. And in fact, I can't remember missing very many. And I said, nobody hits them all. Nobody, not Michael, not Kobe, not Steph. Nobody gets to hit them all. So you got to move on, let it go. And it was a hell of a bounce back game for her, 2 days later.
Anyone else in the room before we go to Zoom? Callie, go ahead.
Coach, wanted to ask about Melissa Smith and foul trouble. I guess as a coach, what are you seeing that's leading to that, and how do you overcome it?
I think she's trying to learn our system, trying to, I'm big on not fouling. But sometimes this league has me reconsidering that philosophy. But maybe just behind the actions just a little bit. So she just got to sniff it out a little bit quicker. Also, we do a lot of switching. So she's on the perimeter doing that early work, understanding how we want to guard in the post. So just some little discipline things, but I think she's doing fine overall.
Thank you. And then also wanted to ask about your philosophy as it pertains to All-Star and injury management, because obviously Asia had the wrist injury and is playing through it, but I mean, she's maybe not at full health. Is there part of you that wants to just wrap her in bubble wrap and keep her out of the All-Star festivities?
I want to play her in bubble wrap. Of course, I'm always looking out for, their well-being. But that'll be a question that she'll have to answer and kind of assess where her wrist is. She looked pretty good the other day with the wrist. So I don't know.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yep.
We'll close with Andy.
Thanks, Callan. Hi, Becky, Andy Lipton. Hope you get to enjoy some free time during the All-Star break. You've talked a number of times through the last few months about playing hard. You got a veteran team. What does it mean for them to play hard? What more do they have to do? And is it something that it should be a given at this stage of their careers that they're already playing hard?
Well, every coach believes it should be a given. No coach wants to coach that. However, there's a certain level of competitiveness that it requires. And I think one thing going back to, our teams 2 years ago that was so dominant is we gas pedaled the first 20 minutes and it was over by the third quarter. The league has caught up. However, I still think we can get out of the gates, start and close quarters better. And what that means is being locked in every possession. You have to try hard. You have to try hard every time. It is a habit, it is a skill set. And it's hard to be great, for 40 minutes. And that's what I'm asking them to do. That's what I'm expecting them to do. That's the standard. Actually, it's the standard they set. So, effort looks different in the sense of it's not about making shots. It's about, being in plays offensively and defensively, having a sense of physicality, having an awareness, talking even is a part of effort, communicating. So, effort is a big word, but it's a necessary word. You can't let people play harder than you and outcompete you. That's a no-go for me.
Gotcha. Thanks, Becky.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.